Good morning, ladies. How's everybody doing? Good morning. Good morning. If you are on or watching the replay, make sure that you say hello or replay so that we can know your pretty faces are here. Oh, love it. Love it. How we doing? Oh, there were people on here. Let's see. It's Monday for sure. Monday, the first full week of I got a hair. First full week of summertime. So that's super fun. How was everybody's weekend? Ours was full of baseball. Lots and lots of baseball. But it was good because we can chill out now. We don't have to have so much baseball. We actually are on a break from baseball because there's no baseball this week. And then oh goodness, we'll be at the beach next week, so super fun. All right, well, I want to get started because today's word is beautified, and who doesn't want to be beautified, right? So, um, the author shares, I love starting there. Most of us can pinpoint our awkward phase as a certain period in our lives. Call it hormones, puberty, or whatever you have. I call it misunderstood beauty. My glory days weren't in middle school or high school. I may have made a few adjustments to my hair routine, but depression plagued me in college. My first 2 years of college consisted of failed attempts to, man, that just hit me. We got to stop right there. Um, my glory days were in middle school or high school. I may have made a few adjustments to my hair. Um, isn't it crazy how, like, if you think about yourself, how many of you can remember yourself in, middle school, high school? And just as the hormones and things are changing, like I think about my boys, uh, and the like boys don't have to worry about that as much as girls, right? I mean, they do, but they don't. We always say they don't, but then we're like, oh, we probably should pay attention to the boys, right? But um, like if you go back and think about um your middle school and high school time, it was really whew, wasn't easy, was it? That was where a lot of the talk about lack of self-love. And I think what happens is us as women is a lot of what I teach and train on is how during that time, right, we were so down on ourselves because we were changing so much of our bodies and everything. But everybody was changing. And if we would have known that, like we probably wouldn't have been so, you know, mean to ourselves. Um, but it was just a time where it was just that's a rough time for a girl is to go through those. I would not want to go through high school. Um, I just think about like high school is not, I need to do my Tony Robbins. Wake up. Um, High school is not like academic wise, like for my boys, like high school is not easy academically. And then to throw in um, puberty and hormones and, you know, kids and, crap anyways, like that's not fun. Um, I think this is a lot of where when, we talk about igniting our identity us as women, like this is where a lot of it was lost. Was in these, glory days of middle school and high school, really. So let's go on and see what she says. My first 2 years of college consisted of failed attempts at sensationalize my lackluster life through partying, drinking, relationships, you name it. For so long, I lacked all good things, lovely, dazzling, and bright. Beauty was fleeting. Can anybody agree with that? Like, if we, how many times can I say like, if we think back to those times, like when you think back to those times, what kind of feelings do you get? Mine is such great. Good morning. You're trying to wake up too. Oh, Jennifer, I know. That's a long weekend. And look at me, I'm still yawning. Oh, wake me up. I need some people to talk to. Goodness sakes. But like, think about that. It was a time where, oh my gosh, this is just one of those sessions. I feel like so many of us lost ourselves in this time. And when she talks about, like the partying, the drinking, like the relationships, obviously those things happen. We always say those things happen in college, blah, blah, blah. But do they have to happen? What if they happen because there was a lack of, knowing who they were, or self-love, or, and like she said, like she had, depression. The depression, plagued her really in college. Depression is a straight sign of rejection usually. So somewhere, and I don't know this, I don't know our author's story, but when depression sets in, it usually becomes from some type of rejection somewhere. But so many of us as women, like if we think back to these between our high school and if you went to college or not, right? But think back to like, what would that be? 15, age 15 to 20. If you think back to those 5 years, those 5 years probably have stayed with us for the past, 20 years. Like those 5 years could have plagued many of us to live in depression, to have a lack of, beauty for ourselves, or respect, self-esteem, so many things. She goes on to say, once I stopped compartmentalizing my life by withholding the unrefined aspects of it from God, things changed. I found my flair. It was as if he painted color into my grayscale life. As I surrendered more to God, more things were processed, clarified, and beautified. From my mental health to my relationships and even my purpose, I gladly began living the radiant life that God had planned for me. When circumstances don't appear beautiful, trust that God will continue to keep his transforming work in you. Offer him your worry and give him your ugly. God specializes in making things beautiful in his time. So we got to go deeper than this, right? So if you guys, think about what color do you look at, like, I always feel like there's a vibe, right? So when I knew that we needed to move and I had that visualization, what I did then was I closed my eyes and I literally just took time to feel what I was seeing and feel what it felt like basically at that time it was my house, and that I felt like there was a gray cloud over my house, and that our house was just gray, and it was not full of life. I mean, if something's gray, I mean, it's basically, death, right? Uh, it's like ash. So I felt like it was gray, like she's talking about here with her life. Uh, and of course, God comes. And if you think about like the enemy, right? When you think of the enemy, you think of black, dark, maybe, red eyes, whatever. But you think of dark gray, you know. Um, so here, when it comes to if something isn't beautiful, right? How can you make it beautiful? How can you get yourself to feel beautiful? And that's really what we're doing in these 100 days of confidence is how can you get yourself to feel beautiful? Uh, because so many of us aren't where she is. Like, you know what I mean? When she said she stopped compartmentalizing her life, I actually wish she would go on to explain a little bit more of that. Um, but for us, if if you have felt depression, a lot of people do, a lot of women do, and especially coming off of, out of the whole, you know, quarantine and remember all those crazy things that we had to do 4 years ago. Um, you know, things are still coming from that. Um, things are still things that were manifested then are still going to be coming to life from there. And so we have to have the armor of God on us because, there was rejection, there was, um, there are people keeping each other from others, right? Like God intended us to be with community. God intended us to be with others, right? And what does depression do? If somebody's depressed or you're depressed, what's the first thing you want to do? You want to run and hide, right? Because we think if we run and hide, we can protect ourselves. However, the enemy just comes right with us, right? Or one, the the bad vibes come with us, right? And so we want to make sure that we are. Um, good morning, Helena. Um, we want to be sure that we aren't hiding that, and that's why we talk about coming to the light. Is like not only do we need to have those aha moments, but we need to come to the light because uh, God is the light, right? He is shining, and He is the good. And so when we're depressed, if you think about being in depression, you think about hiding. Um, there's a song. I was listening to it the other day. I should get it out. Let me see. And I think it's called. I think this is it. I don't know if you guys can hear it, and I don't even know if I can play it because of. Right. Her name is. I'm gonna write it in the comments. Let me see if I can type it in the comments because it's so good. It's called. If you guys ever, or if you know anyone that's struggling with. Oh my gosh! Now my voice thing is on. If you know anyone that's struggling with depression, just because depression is a big topic these days, right? Or if you are, this song is so good. And it's called It's in the Room. And she tells a little bit of her testimony. I don't know if I can show it to you or I don't know. Weird. If we get plagued. But how does it do that? Shanna Wilson Williams is her name. Okay, it's called It's in the Room. Let me see. Hey, Shay. Let me see if I can get the lyrics from it. Oh yeah, here we go. Hold on. I just put it in there. And then I want to read this to you because now when she goes to it, It's so freaking fantastic when she sings. I love it. You can get fired up singing it. And her testimony is just, yeah, I can relate so much to it. Like I have chills even talking about it. So y'all have to go listen to it. It's called, or she says, healing, grace, mercy. It's in the room. Power, faith, compassion. It's in the room. Now, if you think about this, right? When people are depressed, they go to a place, a room. And when I struggled with depression, I know that I mean, I was in my room, right? I was in my bedroom. Like I just wanted to be in bed, right? A lot of people they have their place where they just want to be, you know. So it's in the room. It's in the room. Our Father hears us. It's in the room. All fear is gone. Victory wins. And whatever you need, it's in the room. Whatever you need, it's in the room. And so I want you girls to think like when you're in that room, like you're hiding. And so when we do things, we have to think a little bit further, right? So like our body's natural reaction is protection. Our body's natural need and desire is protection. So we're in the room because we want to be protected, right? However, when we're in that room, we are being protected, but we're calling in most of the time, we're calling in the wrong thing. So this is how you call in the right thing. Okay, this is how you call it. And the right thing is God. God, Jesus, Holy Spirit, call him, just call him whatever you want, right? So she says, all fear is gone, victory is won, and whatever you need, it's in the room. Whatever you need, it's in the room. Miracle, faith, favor, it's in the room. No longer are we abandoned. We are fathered by Jesus. He's in the room. He's in the room. Our Father hears us. Now, we have to believe, even as we talked about our fathers last week, even this is why forgiveness is so big. There's a biblical correlation between your father on earth and your father in heaven. Yes, they're two different people, but they still have the same name, right? They still carry the same name. This is why forgiveness is so important, because there is a link between your father and the Father in heaven and you, okay, for yourself. If your father gave up the rights to be your father, that's on him. However, he still is your father at the end of the day, right? So that's why forgiving him is so important. So important, because you want to give it all to God so that you can accept and receive everything that the Father is going to give you. Because if you have a jacked up sideways relationship on what your father, on the word father is, it is going to mess with things like this song. And I know this is just a song, but this is a big deal. Okay, that's how I can forgive my father. Because when I hear the word father, I don't want to cringe at all. At all. I don't care what my father chose to do. I mean, I do, y'all get what I'm saying. That's on him. I got to get it right with myself and with the Lord. Because when I hear our Father hears us, I don't want to be like, well, my dad really didn't hear me, right? Because I could say that. I absolutely could, and it would be the truth. But I got to get over that. If you want to get over a hurdle, you've got to get over that. That's why it's so important. I don't care what they chose to do. What they chose to do is on them. Going forward, what you choose to do and how you choose to look at the word and the name Father, that's where the forgiveness, that's why forgiveness, this is the huge link of forgiveness. When you have true forgiveness, you're willing to accept something like this. When you hear, our Father hears us. He's in the room. Because if you don't have forgiveness, and this isn't, you're like, when you hear that, you're like, yeah, right. My father wouldn't be in the room. He chose to, his ex-wife. He chose a girl. He chose to drink. He chose to whatever. He chose to leave us, right? you still will have that correlation. That's why forgiveness is so huge. Okay. So whatever you need, it's in the room. Whatever you need, he's in the room. You are the lifter of our heads. You are the answer to our prayers. You are the Father. We're the heirs. You are Jesus. You are the lifter of our heads. You are the answer to our prayers. You are the Father. We are the heirs. He's in the room. Our Father hears us. I don't want to worry anymore. All fear is gone. All fear is gone. All fear is gone. Why? Because when we're in that room of depression, it's not good. It's not God. We're literally in the room with the enemy. Now, when I read this song, it's like, yeah, okay, that sounds great. But I believe that she will always do the live. But if you want to really hear her testimony, and you just got to hear it, she has so much soul. Is go to have your Alexa play It's in the Room, and it's the live version, and you'll hear her testimony when she walks into her room and she goes into her room of depression. And I think it's her cousin or her sister or something like that has had too much, and she's like, I can't do this anymore, and she leaves. It's so powerful. Just trust me on this. Okay, so sorry. And again, and she even tells you it's the fear of rejection. Like something happened. We were rejected somewhere, whether it was our fault. Like we go back to my root of that age 15 to 20. So just think about this as you go through, whether you're on the replay or whatever, or listening to it now. Think about your life at 15 to 20. Where were you? What was going on? Then go deeper. What were you feeling? Right? That's why with my boys, I love to know what they're thinking. I love to know what they're feeling. I love to have them pray with me, because then I can hear where their mind and their heart are. Right? Because I know how detrimental and bad my life went from 15 to 20. It was probably the worst 5 years sprint of my life. So think back to that time. What was going on? How were you feeling? What were you thinking? Okay. And if you did have some type of depression, like that for me during that time, that's when my anorexia and bulimia came into play. Right. So all that body dysmorphia, all that body image, all that self-esteem, all that, that stuff. Right. Then I went looking for love in all the wrong places. Right. Then my mom was, an alcoholic, and it was just like, what is happening? Talk about a crazy time in my life. And then at 20, I got pregnant. Like, I'm talking big things can happen in those 5 years. Those are huge years. We always hear that babies, first 5 years is, molding them, right? 15 to 20 is a big piece to our puzzle. So go back to 15 to 20. How are you feeling? What happened? Okay. So my depression didn't come into a little bit later. But if you go back to the depression and the root of depression is rejection, travel back. My root of depression came from my rejection from my dad leaving, if you go all the way back to the root of it. Right? Which is why it's so important that we have to go through forgiveness. So that I can take that, it's kind of like taking a knife, and I can take it and just stab. I can just stab it, no more. I don't have to deal with it anymore. I don't have to deal with the spirit of rejection, which means I don't have to deal with depression, because I don't have the spirit of rejection, because I gave my dad freedom, or I gave myself freedom, right? And forgiveness from what my dad did to us kids. He chose to do that. right? I don't want to live with that forever, because if I am, then I'm accepting depression, and I'm accepting rejection, and I'm accepting not to live in freedom. Do you all see the link? Like, so thick. And I know we're only here for a few minutes, and that's a big thing. I know it's a daily struggle for you. I know. One day you'll definitely be able to live in that freedom. I have no doubt. Take some time today to go through the processes of what I just shared. Go back and think about, right? All right, girls, we got to pray our prayer of Jabez, and then, well, she goes on to, if you guys want to read in Ecclesiastes 3:11, God has made everything beautiful for its own time. So beauty, and here's the thing too, declarations is huge. I am beautiful by God. There is no aspect of my life that I'll give to him that will remain dull or lifeless. I'm confident that I see God's splendor radiate through me. Right? Helena, what I'm going to be doing real soon, and especially like in our 5-day challenge and things like that, is I'm going to have us go through what I just, shared very quickly with you girls, is to go back to a time where we have these limiting beliefs, right? But why do we have them? There's a trail. There's a reason why we have them. There's a reason why, even aside, babe, from, your husband unfortunately passing away, right? There's gray, right? How many times when we were on, Zooms, were you in the dark, right? Do you remember those times? Like literally what she says, I'll give him that. So she said, there is no aspect of my life that I'll give to him that will remain dull or lifeless, right? So you want to give it to God. And I know that sounds a lot easier than said than done, right? So we're going to go through the processes of that. But I distinctly remember, Helena, when we were on Zoom, you were always in the dark. And eventually, little by little, you had yourself come into the light, right? And we saw that happening on Zooms, which is so cool, which is exactly what it is. It's like, and the more you got, better and healed, right? And your thing too is what we can't forget is that we must stay together. You, I, us, whatever you want on it, cannot do life alone. And we really cannot struggle alone. Okay. The enemy wants to take us away. The reason why we go to a room, right, for depression is to hide, is to protect ourselves, right? Because our body senses that flight, that fight or flight mode, right? Like, oh, we got to protect, we got to pull back, right? We always talk about pulling back. Yeah, we pull back from the situation, but we need to lean in to the Lord. Okay, we need to lean in to what, God is what we need. We need to lean into telling others. We need to lean in to it, because here's the deal. There's nothing new under the sun. Nothing, which means that your depression is not something that somebody's not gone through. Most everyone that I've ever talked to, they've all gone through a series of depression, a season of it. And it's just a season, y'all. It's just a season. I know it's just, but it's not fun. But we have to remember that there is victory. There is victory. And this community of women, I hate calling us women. I'm always about girls. I'm like, the girls, this community of girls, ladies, That's what we want to do. That's why we're here. We are going to help each other because we've all gone through it. And if we haven't, somebody else in the room has. All right. We got to have signs, miracles, and wonders happen today. So, prayer of Jabez. And fill in your name and fill in your name. And Katie called on the name of God, called on God of Israel, saying, "Oh, that you would bless me indeed and enlarge my territory, that your hand would be with me and that you would keep me from evil, that I may not cause pain." So God granted her what she requested. Boom, chicka, boom, boom. All right, ladies, day 33 today. Tomorrow is day 34. Have an amazing Monday. I hope you all know how blessed, loved, and free we really are. Go spend some time thinking, and not only what happened then, but how you felt. Spend some time with a journal and a pen. And ask the Holy Spirit to lean into you. And if you have that bitterness from someone, from a father, from a mother, from a brother, from a sister, from an aunt, from an uncle, whoever, lean into that as well. Because we've got to get to forgiveness. The victory at first is forgiveness. We've got to get things forgiven. Okay? All right, ladies. I love y'all so much. Mwah. Love you, girls. I will see you tomorrow. Bye.